Welcome back to Chaotix Plus, and what a marathon it's been. We went through all of these characters, gave them some time to shine, and, looks like we missed somebody. It is a little strange that in this Knuckles Chaotix coverage, we have not yet covered Knuckles. Once the badass rival of Sonic, the last of his kind, the guardian of the Master Emerald and the floating Angel Island. But nowadays...
You don't know the way.
Yes, I
Do you know the way?
Meme! Approved!
Careful not to stain your brand new dress, Pumpkin.
I'm Knuckles the Echidna. I'm from Angel Island. I'm the beloved leader of this group, and the last of my kind.
Yeah. This is what one of the coolest characters of the Sonic franchise has been reduced to, or inflated into. An idiot meathead cartoon stereotype and a dead meme. It's literally the name of the toy that they made of this guy. Is that even allowed to be made? The Laura Sue Chronicles are fine, I guess this is. Yeah, the most attention this character has gotten in recent years are these chunky renditions, and even these have lost their luster. I know some of you are already typing in defense of Boom Knuckles, and fine, yeah, he worked in the dynamic of that show. I have openly laughed multiple times, and more often than not, it's because of Chesty the Echidna. But I'm gonna be real with you. I got my fill. I'm good. I don't need this to be what people think of when they think of Knuckles. I've warmed up to the character, but I still hate this design. Especially since I've seen fans reinterpret these proportions in much better ways than this. I enjoyed the humor, but this character type was tired long before Boom came out. I'm honestly glad this weird little experiment is over. People miss the genuine humor and character interactions because we are so desperate for that in the games. That's what they need to salvage from Sonic Boom. You roll that clever wit into mainline Sonic and you have solved so many problems with that series in terms of storytelling. I'll talk about the good and the bad with that whole mess another day. This was fine, but this is still not the Knuckles I know and love, and if there was even a hint that this would have replaced the mainline guy, forget it. No thank you. His other quite notable appearance is what the internet refers to as Ugandan Knuckles. But despite the fact that this seemed to take over the internet, like any meme, it burned brightly then quickly faded. If you're watching this in the far future and somehow have not seen this bug-eyed boy, Ugandan Knuckles originally came from a design from a joke in a video by Greg Zilla, which I'm going to link to right here and in the description. Later on, it would be paired with some choice lines from a film called Who Killed Captain Alex, a goofy Wakaliwood movie. And, well, plenty of people thought it was hilarious. There was another portion of folks that were calling this problematic, saying that this was portraying the culture of Uganda in a negative way, reinforcing negative stereotypes. I personally don't agree. I just saw this as a goofy version of a character that was born from two different goofy sources. It's called Ugandan Knuckles because Wakaliwood was born in the slums of Uganda. That's where Captain Alex was made. I'm just telling you where I stand. I think it's harmless. I think it's funny. If you have a different opinion, I respect that. I'm more than happy to hear you out in the comments below. Either way, that's not the point of this video. I need to stress that I don't hate either version of the character here. Like I said at the front, they've lost their relevance. They're gonna fade into memory of internet meme culture. And I've personally got plenty of laughs from both of them. But it still bothers me that this is the most relevant Knuckles has been in years. One's a dumb joke that has Polygon writing articles declaring it racist. The other was designed for memes in a failed spin-off series. And what truly bothers me is that the source material where these jokes spring from aren't offering us anything worth looking deeper into. These memes aren't born from some incredible Knuckles media. Sure, they exist because people have some residual knowledge of Knuckles. He's been in great games, but he's never truly been the focus. Sega has, time and again, failed to take full advantage of this incredible character. But there is a better path. Let me show you the way. That was a Ugandan Knuckles joke I was making just now. I promise I'm not racist. Part of the reason I did not yet cover Knuckles in this Chaotix marathon was because I already went on a great deal about my guy in my Sonic 3 coverage. Another part of it was because I did want to shine a spotlight on some of these more obscure Sonic characters. But another large part of it was because there isn't much to say about the Echidna in terms of this game, the one game that has his name attached to it. Say what you will about Shadow's spin-off game, but it at least stayed on point in terms of storytelling themes it presented, and it did what a proper spin-off should do. While Sonic is the main hero in his games, he's usually stumbling across a story that heavily revolves around the history of a rival character. It's in this way that we, the player, learn about the enemy alongside the blue blur. As the story plays out, we develop empathy and respect for them. It might even leave you wanting some more. Sonic's gone off to his next adventure, but what about all the loose ends for this mysterious new rival? A good spin-off story will center on this new character to flesh out whatever history or lore was unearthed. In Shadow's case, you had Sonic Adventure 2 leading into Shadow's title game, which did give you more of all of Shadow's story bits. If you wanted to learn more about Shadow's origin, Gerald Robotnik, Maria, the Ark, how he survived, why the ultimate life form is a black hedgehog. Well, okay, it doesn't answer every single question, and honestly, I feel like it bloated out the history a little bit too much in spots, and ultimately, it's not a great game. They did stay focused on Shadow the entire time, in theme, story, and gameplay. Again, not perfect, but in this sense, it beats out Knuckles Chaotix, because that game can't exist without Knuckles just fine. I mean, I literally did just do a segment about how this game might have worked out even better if they had focused on the two faceless robots they had created to hinder the player. A massive reason why Sonic 3 Knuckles is so damn good is because of, well, Knuckles. He's so good that they had to awkwardly slap his name onto the complete adventure. The game went out of its way to design paths and boss encounters exclusive to Knuckles' unique abilities. They already showed how Sonic worked just by himself in the previous game, but with Knuckles, it's different enough that you can create entirely new challenges. Gliding and climbing makes that much of a difference. The incentive to explore pushed along thanks to giant hidden rings for the special stages. Not only that, but the connection with the Master Emerald, being the last of his species, an island floating in the sky that nobody was aware of prior to this point. Yeah, we had a grand adventure focused around all of this, but when Sonic moved on, we could slow down and really explore the mysteries of this island and Knuckles' connection to it. All of that is just begging for a spin-off game. But that's not what we got with the Chaotix. Instead, we focused on sling rings and all these colorful new characters. And that's all pretty well known at this point. Knuckles' name doesn't even pop up in the Japanese version of the game. They just put more focus on him in the Western world to sell more copies. There is plenty to appreciate from this game, and there are hints at extending the lore a little bit, which I will get into at a different time. And none of this would be a problem if they had just done more with Knuckles outside of the Chaotix. And I mean, in some instances, they got close. The comics, both Fleetway and Archie, will continue to focus on Knuckles in solo adventures, especially with Archie. With the lack of oversight from Sega and Archie, Ken Penders would go on to establish answers for Knuckles' lineage and connection with the Giant Gem, utilize the Chaotix as a supporting cast of heroes along with some comic-exclusive characters, even bring in some unique villains. Now, whatever you think of Ken and his ugly breakup with the franchise, it's hard to argue that he really delved into the character in ways the game's never bothered with. I don't agree with each and every choice he made. I do think it gets a little too involved with tedious politics and a bloated cast and awkward teenage garbage, and frankly, it gets flat out boring a lot of the time. But this certainly deserves a more thorough analysis. It went pretty hard for a comic made for a children's license, and it certainly isn't the most insane thing from comics in the 90s. It does, in its own unique way, scratch that Knuckles itch. You wanted more from the Echidna and Angel Island lore? Well, Archie had you covered. And again, we'll dive into it a little bit deeper at a different time. I mean, comics are all well and fine, but it still doesn't solve the problem of the games. It's not like they were going to dive any deeper into Knuckles' history there. Well, that problem could have been potentially solved with Sonic Chronicles, the BioWare-made RPG for the DS, as that centers around an Echidna clan, and it's the closest the Archie lore ever got to the game canon. But Chronicles isn't great, and it's not even a platformer. It's a traditional RPG, and the real-world drama surrounding that title is far more interesting than the story itself. I mean, there's interesting stuff there, but trust me when I tell you that this mess deserves its own analysis, again, at a different time. They did have some potentially neat story ideas, and if that had been allowed to continue, maybe we would have seen even more for Knuckles in terms of a story. Honestly, with the legal fallout from all of this and Ken Penders, I'm worried that we might not even get anything related to Knuckles' history going forward. Well, putting all that aside, even though Chronicles isn't going to continue and Knuckles Chaotix failed to deliver the goods with the title character, I did still see some promise in the third dimension. I know we all love to endlessly chatter and debate over how Sonic should work in 3D. Honestly, it's not a hard problem to solve. Sega just loves to overcomplicate things. This past decade, there have been more than a couple of attempts to emulate the success of 3D Mario, which has been met with mixed results, and as more time has passed, more complaints seem to fester. Sonic was designed to offer something different from Mario, and I don't really think that should change with 3D titles. The Adventure and Boost games throw out so many potentially fantastic ideas in terms of game design and storytelling that Sega keeps coming close to but never quite nailing. They have everything they need to make Sonic stand out, and good lord, that is a whole topic that the entire fan base loves chatting over for hours. Look, if they really wanted to challenge Mario after he once again revolutionized gaming in the third dimension, I feel like there was real promise, not with Sonic, but with Knuckles as the next big rival to the plumber. Look, if you really wanted to delve into the well-realized world of 3D Mario, you can do that with a unique spin and at the same time solve another major problem with the Sonic franchise: proper utilization of the extensive cast of characters. Goodness knows I've banged that drum plenty, but as much as I would love to see these more obscure characters get some time to shine, it's honestly aggravating just how many chances they had to make Rad Red relevant. As excited as I was to play Sonic in 3D, I was probably just as excited to see what Knuckles could do. I love exploring game environments. I have a whole show dedicated to it, and Knuckles made that fun. Even in Sonic R, he is hands down the best of the standard characters. Breaks the racing of the game, but whatever, man. This was Knuckles in 3D. It felt great gliding over the environment, and Sonic Adventure further bolstered my hopes. And when it comes to Knuckles, yeah, it's mostly just levels filled with games of hot or cold, but Knuckles controlled great. Wasn't as zippy as Sonic, but the jumping and running still felt as good as ever, climbing up walls and soaring across the open little maps, and they even got you punching and digging and utilizing his little mitts in different ways that the 2D games never bothered with. And the story continues on from Sonic 3, as a mysterious water monster bursts out of the Master Emerald, the most powerful bit of jewelry in this world. It just gets destroyed by this brand new baddie who's literally named Chaos. They hint at the ancient past of the Echidna tribe and the origins of the floating island, and yeah, wow. It seemed like there was a lot of interesting stuff to unearth with this character. I've gone on about it before, but Knuckles was truly one of the first major sources of history and lore in the Sonic game world. Surely it would be nothing but upward momentum from here, right? Well, Sonic Adventure 2 was fine, but they made the destruction of the Master Emerald like a normal, everyday thing. It was a big deal when a god of destruction named Chaos bursted out of it. And sure, you could say that maybe Knuckles' connection with the stupid thing gave him the ability to crush it into pieces, but I don't know. It just felt like it was here because, well, Knuckles was hunting it down in the last game and we had to give him something to do in this game. And that's not to say they didn't have interesting ideas with Knuckles, or Rouge as well, in Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, who can hate Pumpkin Hill? But yeah, ultimately, they just didn't do enough with the character to satisfy me as a fan. Look, I get that they designed Knuckles' stages as they did back in the days of the Dreamcast because his climbing and gliding might end up demanding a lot of real estate. So they tended to cage the boy with high walls, occasionally unclimbable surfaces, or indoor arenas. And none of those are a bad thing, I just don't think they were utilized to the best of their ability. But nowadays, we are far past those limitations. Man, looking back on it now, I think all of this is why Pumpkin Hill was such a standout level. It's here that Knuckles gets to stretch his dreads and really let loose on this map. And also, it's just a great aesthetic. Who doesn't love a good Halloween level? This isn't just a standout for Knuckles, but for the entire game. It feels grand, somewhat challenging, and super fun to explore. You need to properly utilize the gliding and climbing if you want to properly search this map. But I wanted to do so much more than just hunt down emerald shards. What's going on with that creepy church? Or that ghost train? I want to know the story of this place, and I want to uncover some of these mysteries. Honestly, if you approach this as a Mario 64 game with unique objectives that required you to navigate the environment with your skills at hand, this could have been something incredible. I mean, for crying out loud, Spyro is basically a Knuckles game. He glides, he runs into things, he collects gems, and they sorted all this out on the PS1. You tweak that just the ittiest bit and you have yourself a Knuckles Collect-a-thon 3D platformer on your hands. You don't need to worry about zipping through the environment as quickly as possible. Alright, I'm just spitting this out as I go. Just to backtrack, that would have been a great solution to the lack of Sonic on the Saturn. I know the system didn't handle 3D very well, but it did manage a couple of okay 3D platformers. I'd have happily played a low poly 3D Knuckles platformer. Are you kidding me? That'd be rad. I mean, Come on, even take out the 3D for a second here. A 2D game based solely around Knuckles would have been incredible, and that's kind of what I expected back in 1995. Or, hey, you know what? Even look at the Chaotix again. That was originally planned at one point to be a Saturn game. What if they just held off on that stupid 32X business and really gave it time to cook and plan out all those ideas and really make something special for the Saturn? I know 3D was the new hotness, but I certainly wouldn't have complained about that. That would have been incredible. And speaking of 2D, I do remember on one of Ian Flynn's podcasts that he mentioned that he would love a Metroidvania-style Knuckles game. That'd be brilliant. Give me that. Or let's jump ahead into the future. How many times have you heard, well, you'd like Sonic Unleashed just fine if it was called Sonic and Knuckles 2? First off, how dare you? But the idea holds some merit. If you're going to make a combat-focused Sonic game, why not use a character who's never had a chance to properly utilize his spiked boxing gloves? We still have to work in the climbing and gliding and hopefully speed up that sluggish dog to actually make the combat engaging. Man, that'd be really cool. Yes, thank you to whoever is about to type, am I the only one who likes the werehog? No, you're not. It shows up in multiple comments anytime somebody mentions Sonic Unleashed. I know you guys like that game. I get it. You were too young for God of War, so you got Dog of War and it did the job for you. My silly idea can't change history. That game still exists and it does do a lot of cool things. Can you spare me the comment? Please? No? You already wrote it, didn't you? Probably wrote it before I even mentioned Sonic Unleashed. I'm not giving you a Why Werehog Matters video. It's not happening. Stop asking. Go to Channel Pup's video. He talks about Chip for like 15 goddamn minutes. You can tell I'm tired when I start derailing like this, so let's wrap this up. Like I just said about the werehog, that applies for all of these silly ideas. I can't change the past. I'm only playing Captain Hindsight and pitching you ideas that never came to be. Sure, it would be interesting to see Sega challenge Mario with Sonic's in-house Red rival, but that's not what happened. And really, who's to say Sega wouldn't have screwed up future Knuckles solo titles like they did with the Chaotix, or like they did with Sonic himself? It all boils down to the talent of the developers and the bankroll and time frame provided by the publisher. But here's the neat thing about all these silly ideas I just threw your way. There's no reason none of this couldn't happen in the future. We certainly welcome back old school Sonic with open arms with Mania, and you know they're going to be coming out with a sequel to that game in some form or fashion. But eventually they're going to need to branch out. What if they were given a proper budget to give Knuckles his own unique campaign alongside Sonic and Tails and whoever else they use? Something beyond an underground path that you can take in the same levels that those guys traverse. Or why not just give Knuckles his own unique 2D game, release it digitally? Or in more modern settings, in a gaming culture obsessed with open worlds, why not chase that trend with Knuckles? Everyone loses their damn minds when Link can climb on everything or when Mario runs around little planets, but Knuckles has been dabbling with this shit for years. And yeah, I know Mad Space was a Rouge level and everybody hated it, but what made that level so frustrating was the fact that you were once again playing hot and cold. That could have been a great environment if they gave you other tasks and objectives to partake in. I don't understand how all the boost games use the same damn excuse over and over again. Sonic's boost levels are so damn fast that we need to pad it out with something else, but they never bothered to use these other characters that could make for some excellent padding. And when they come close to a brilliant idea, they just throw it out instead of polishing it up. Sonic Unleashed is not Sonic and Knuckles 2, but what's to stop them from making Sonic and Knuckles 2? Refine that combat and give it to Knuckles. Or an open world Angel Island. That gives you the map borders, you can climb on everything and glide past differences, and nobody's gonna tell you that you're ripping off Breath of the Wild because Knuckles has been doing this since the 90s. Tell me you don't want that game. They're so obsessed with figuring out how to make Sonic go faster when really they can use Knuckles as a chance to slow down and explore some different strengths. Combat, exploration, all of this is ready to go with this radical Red Echidna. That's what made him so exciting to finally play in Sonic and Knuckles. And building around that bolstered that particular game to becoming one of the greatest platformers ever made. There's so much left to do with this character in 2D and in 3D. He's one of the most iconic characters in the franchise, and I know I'm not the only fan who knows he's got a story worth telling and a game worth playing. Knock knock, Knuckle Warriors. Sega, use your f***ing characters.